In the wild heart of South Africa, a brotherhood of lions carved out an empire that was built on pure fear and just unbelievable strength. Today, we are diving into the absolutely brutal rise and fall of the most notorious lion coalition in history, the Mopogo.
And trust me, that quote is not an exaggeration. This isn't your typical animal story. This is a true epic saga of brotherhood, of brutal, bloody conquest, and in the end, an inevitable tragedy that all played out in South Africa's Sabi Sand Game Reserve.
So how in the world did this dynasty even begin? Well, it all started with a group that basically broke all the rules of the wild, a band of 6 brothers.
Now, what made this coalition so strong was its unique setup. You had this older, more experienced male, Makulu, leading 5 of his younger, fiercely loyal half-brothers. This mix of a battle-hardened leader and just the sheer numbers of his crew was something no one had ever seen before. It really set the stage for their violent takeover.
So starting around 2006, they unleashed a campaign of conquest so brutal it literally redrew the map for the entire ecosystem. Let's really break down the incredible scale of their dominance.
Get this, in the span of a single year, that's it. Their relentless campaign of terror cemented their iron-fisted rule across the whole Sabi Sand.
It's estimated they killed over 100 rival lions and their cubs. And this wasn't just random violence, It was a systematic effort to erase entire bloodlines, to eliminate any possible challenge to their power, now or in the future.
And at their peak, they controlled nearly 80% of the entire reserve, dominating up to 8 different prides. We're talking about a territory so huge, it had never been documented for a single lion coalition before. Ever!
So as their empire got bigger and bigger, the coalition had to get strategic. They split their forces, and they sent the 2 youngest and most aggressive brothers, Mr. T and Kinky Tail, to lock down the really volatile eastern frontier.
And these 2, well, they became known as the Deadly Duo. And while all the brothers were terrifying, this pair defined the coalition's reputation for absolute, ruthless power. They were the shock troops of the Mopogo Empire.
At this point, their dominance seemed absolute, right? But when a new group of young rivals showed up on the scene, the Mopogo's brutal response would ironically end up sealing their own fate.
Now, these guys were young, they were inexperienced, but just their presence was a direct challenge to the Mopogo throne, and it was a challenge that the Deadly Duo was absolutely determined to crush. The speed of what happened next was just stunning. In the morning, the Mopogo sent a message written in blood, but that same night, the Majingilanes sent a shocking reply. Their unified, swift revenge was the moment the tide turned. This was, without a doubt, the beginning of the end for the Mopogo Empire. Kinky Tail's death completely shattered their aura of invincibility. And the fall of the Mopogo dynasty, well, it would prove to be just as fast and just as brutal as its rise.
So at the Eastern Front totally collapsed, a lone Mr. T was forced to retreat west and rejoined his 4 remaining brothers. For the first time, the Mopogo Empire was actually shrinking.
And it didn't stop there. Shortly after, Rasta, one of the twins, just vanished during a patrol. Poof! Gone without a trace. Another pillar of the dynasty was gone.
And then, Dreadlocks, who was the coalition's powerful tank, he also disappeared. It's widely believed he was taken by poachers. I mean, think about it. In just a few months, the mighty coalition of 6 had been cut in half.
In what has become an iconic final act of pure defiance, Mr. T faced his end completely alone. Even paralyzed, he kept fighting, cementing his legend as a fearless, unrelenting warrior right up to his very last breath. With Mr. T's death, the Mopogo era was officially over. Only 2 aging brothers, Makulu and Pretty Boy, were left out of the 6 who had once ruled absolutely everything.
Pretty Boy would succumb to age and disease later in 2012, leaving the original leader, Makulu, as the one and only survivor of this legendary coalition.
At about 15 years old, which is basically ancient for a wild lion, Makulu was last seen in March 2013 walking alone into the Kruger National Park. He was never seen again. The founder and final member of the dynasty just vanished into legend.
Their entire reign was built on fear, on violence, and an unmatched will to dominate. They conquered their kingdom through bloodshed, and in the end, their kingdom was taken from them in the exact same way. So that leaves us with the big question. Were they simply brutal villains, or were they the greatest lion kings the world has ever seen?